Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Single best idea. And thank you for listening. What we're trying to do here is a short podcast to fold into your other longer listens, including The Big Take and many others that are out there, just quietly building here with two ideas each day from the many conversations we have. Thank you to Henrietta Trays, who's really been with us, it seems now, every third day or so with Veda Partners, explaining so nicely what's going on in Washington and particularly on Capitol Hill. She's just been a real value add. We did 3 interviews today on the German election. Paul and I tried to take it broader than just here are the results. A particular thanks to Holger Schmieding of Berenberg Bank, who was really patient about explaining the path from Konrad Adenauer out to this immense turmoil in Germany and what it means for America. So we thank him for that. Did a lot of equity today. Bob Dole showed up with Crossmark. Some caution on the market. He wants to participate. Riveting was Mike Wilson of Morgan Stanley. And of course, he was looking at Washington distractions.
But then the other things that have been, we've been focused on really in no particular order, tariffs, as you already mentioned. Number 2, we have immigration enforcement, which has been a huge fiscal boost and also a labor supply boost. And then we have DOGE, right? The Department of Government Efficiency. Right. They're off to an aggressive start. I'm optimistic that, probably more optimistic than most, that they can make some headway there. But remember, the more successful they are in the short term, the more growth negative that is in the near term before you get to the good stuff. And then, of course, the positive effects of policy like deregulation, maybe extending the tax cuts, those come later in the year. Those require congressional approval. And so that's just not, that's going to take 6 to 12 months. And so the bad stuff first, the good stuff comes later.
Mike Wilson with Morgan Stanley. Done a lot on gold recently. We'll get Dennis Gartman on, who's got arguably the trade of the decade. Gold as measured in Japanese yen. Of course, with recent yen strength, maybe that's not as successful as it was. I'll have to look at the chart to check on that. James Steele at HSBC has been absolutely fabulous to come in for lengthy conversations on gold. He and I looked back to the boom from Nixon and $35 an ounce through the 70s and on to the 80s.
There's a lot of discussion now about that gold is at new highs. And it is. It's at new highs in nominal terms. The all-time high is $850 in January of 1980, which you and I, we all remember.
See it right here. That's our 2 standard deviations.
And that roughly is $3,400 in today's money. So there is, on that basis alone, and I'm not saying it would go there, there is on that basis a historical precedent for the market to go higher. But it did drop afterwards for 10 or 15 years. It dropped very quickly for the next 10 years.
Oh, and I measured that. We didn't have time to get it on air. Are you ready, folks? From the peak in the 80s, the gold bugs and all that, the price was down over 55% in the length of time of that agony was substantial. I don't have an opinion on that. You will never get me to say buy, hold, sell on gold. What I'll say is we'd love for James Steele of HSBC to return. Just wonderful perspective. At the end of it, we talked palladium. What does palladium do now with EV and all that? I mean, platinum and palladium, but particularly palladium, I have no idea. I mean, we used to talk about this stuff all the time. Now we talk about Apple and Mag 7 and, the rest of it. It is single best idea on your commute across the nation. Thank you for listening, particularly on Sirius XM channel 121. On YouTube, subscribe to Bloomberg Podcast. It's growing each and every day. We're dashing on to more subscribers, humbled by that domestically and just stunned at the international reach of YouTube. Thank you so much. On YouTube Podcasts, this is Single Best Idea.